the most important element to come out of last night was that both quarterbacks looked extremely good in that game. And I think the main thing that you have to take away from Cam Newton's performance in particular was how connected, how in rhythm, and just how tied together his decisions and his mechanics and his throws and the whole sort of picture was for Cam Newton, right? Because that is always consistently the issue that you have with, what Cam brings to the table are his feet, hips, shoulders lining up with the throws that he is making down the field. When they are, he's a very accurate quarterback down the field, especially on the routes that he throws best, dig routes, shallow crosses, curls, things like that. When it's not, that's when he tends to run into issues.
Yeah, so it's funny. To go with that as well, I was talking to Ted Johnson about this earlier today. The three throws in a row that we're kind of all basing all this on, right? All three of those were on max protect.
So I'd have to ask Ted Johnson, and I don't mean to get on Ted Johnson. I saw the clip that they posted on NBC Sports Boston as well, and I'm not saying that Ted Johnson is wrong, but my question for Ted, honestly, is what does he consider max protection? Because the throw to Jacoby Myers is a play action pass. That was max protect. It's a 2-man route combination. The Patriots do that a lot, right? That's a max protection type of play. The throw to Kendrick Bourne, they had the tight end and the running back chip coming out of the backfield, and then it turned into a 5-man protect. So I'm not sure what is that mean? What is that? Is that 7-man protection? Is that max protect in Ted Johnson's mind? Or I don't know. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just asking the question because when a running back and a tight end chip and then release into the route and there's 4-5 guys out in the route, that to me is not max protect, right? And he hit 2 of those throws in that kind of situation where they chipped and then they released out into the pattern. So that's, I guess, a definition of max protect that maybe is a little bit of a gray area. Maybe Ted Johnson playing in the league would know something that I don't about how you kind of define those types of plays. But I would definitely want to ask Ted how does he kind of define mass protection?
Well, so the point I think because I talked to him a little bit about it off the air, and so we got a little deeper into it. You go back, was it Orlovsky who had that tweet this morning about the footwork?
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest takeaway from me as well. And I wrote about that last night. The tied together mechanical chain. I talk about it all the time with Cam. When he's not stepping in the right direction, when he's not lining up his feet to his throws, the ball tends to do wonky things on him. When he is, that's when it really is a much crisper operation.
Yeah, so I guess the way that kind of ties in, right, is even if they're chipping, you just know you have more time if you're back there, if you're Cam Newton. And that level of comfort maybe is what allows him to set his feet, right? One of the biggest issues for Cam last year was against the blitz. And the whole offense isn't just Cam, but it runs through the quarterback. A big part of a big thing that killed him was the blitz. So, and that's where Cam's throwing off balance. That's why he's throwing all these passes short because he couldn't set his feet. Okay, last night he sets his feet. Great. And again, Orlovsky wasn't wrong. The footwork's tied to everything else, and he looked in sync and he looked good. But you had these passing plays that were called with more of a focus on blocking. You also had, I don't think the Eagles blitzed him once. I think I saw that. There was no blitz.
They didn't blitz either quarterback once, to be fair.
The footwork looked good, and I don't want to take that away from him because I think that's encouraging. I think overall what Cam Newton did last night is encouraging, but we're here to put context to it. I think that was a baseline. He wasn't really challenged with anything that he was challenged with last season, if that makes sense.
I guess that's fair. I think the 2 biggest things that I would say, one was obviously what I talked about already with the chain all being tied together, right? The feet, the hips, the shoulders, all kind of going with the brain, right? And I think that's where Cam has sort of had issues is the brain is one step ahead of the rest of his body, or the brain's behind his body. And he's getting to that point in the progression and then not being able to kind of continue through the progression and make sure that his feet are continuing with him to the next point in that progression. That can be a problem for Cam. The other thing that I took away from Cam is that, to Josh McDaniels' credit, I thought that he dialed up a lot of really good plays for each quarterback that fit and suit each QB. So when you get into what Cam is good at in this offense, dig routes is probably the number one thing, right? That's the number one most route that he throws the best. Digs, curls, what they call middle read, which is when they send that receiver right up the middle of the field. That gives the quarterback an initial read of if it's single high, post high, zero, whatever. And then he kind of goes off of that read and either throws the dig underneath it, or he throws and splits the safeties with the ball down the middle. So those types of reads, those types of throws, Cam clearly looks very comfortable doing. So they have a baseline, as you said, a foundation of what they can work off of on those types of, with Cam in the passing game, right? Digs, curls, things in the between the numbers, essentially. And once you get throwing outside the numbers, once you throw deep, that's when he can tend to maybe have some issues. But when you keep it in the middle of the field and you keep the ball on some of those drive throws towards the intermediate level, that is where Cam's sweet spot is. So I think that that's what we learned last night, was that Cam is capable, and when he does go out there and consistently puts together the mechanical work that he did last night, and then you tie that together with the play calls that Josh McDaniels made against the Eagles, that is the way that you can optimize Cam Newton's skills as a passer. That's the way that you can make Cam Newton look the best possible version of himself in this offense. When they get caught up in doing some of the stuff outside the numbers or some of the option stuff, that's when it gets a little bit bleak. But when they start to just kind of give him a clear picture of what he's looking at down the field, and that might mean max protect two-man route combination and making it a little bit more of a simplified read. And as long as you have the playmakers, and last night it was a lot of Nelson Aguilar and Jacoby Myers kind of making the plays happen. As long as you have that ability with those weapons to create mismatches and get open at the second and third level of the defense, then you'll be fine running 2 or 3 man route combos. Or maybe like the Kendrick Bourne throw, for example, was Bourne on the dig route, the middle read coming out the middle of the field, and then a check down. Right. So basically you have home run, first down, check down. That's kind of the old narrative, right? Or the old trope. So if you're able to do that, then I think that that's enough. I think you can win with that. Offenses have certainly won with less. And if you add the running game on top of that, then that's a feasible way to win and move the football if Cam can be consistent like he was last night.
Yeah, and again, I think you can then tap into that deep ball, because that was the best elements of his game last year. Kind of slid under the radar. That was the best element of his game, and with having Aguilar, you're going to have more of that. But you only set that up if the underneath stuff's working and the stuff outside the numbers is working. So complementary football. I think we got our first complimentary football of the year last night from Bill. I don't remember him saying it after week 1. I don't know if he said it during camp. So I think it was. If I'm wrong, correct me. But yeah, I mean, that it's all going to tie together. That's the thing for Cam Newton. It's last year, everything was just so disjointed that it feels like once 1 or 2 things click, everything's going to start to click.
Right. So that's the biggest thing I took away from Cam, was that McDaniels and Cam seem to have a comfort level with at least the baseline of plays that the Patriots are going to run with him when he's passing and drop back passing, or if it's play action as well, and not straight just drop back. And I just want to clarify one thing. When I said the deep ball, I think Cam is a good post thrower. I think he's a good deep cross thrower. Go balls outside the numbers, I'm not so sure that that's really what you're going to have success with him throwing. But if you're going to throw a deep post to Nelson Aguilar or throw a deep over route to Nelson Aguilar, I think Cam's really good at those types of throws down the field. The outside the number go ball, I don't know if that's necessarily his game.